Moved back to the farm in 1996 from university. This has been an old family farm. I'm the fourth generation. They used to plough from the top of the hill straight down to the bottom. Soil was really poorly degraded, and we were really struggling to get performance out of the property. I did the normal thing. We were dairy farmers, so I started to increase the inputs in an effort to try and solve the problem. And we found that we did get increases and improvements in terms of our productivity. But with time, we eventually ended up, about 2008, we were up to about 650 N per hectare per year. And it was at that stage that the whole system just collapsed. The real telltale sign was that we weren't able to get any growth out of kikuyu, which is supposed to be really dominant in this climate of ours. We get really hot in summer, and the kikuyu just did not want to perform. So in desperation, after having spoken to a lot of consultants who suggested various things which didn't work, I went and I bought every seed that was on the local seed catalogue. I mixed them all together and I planted 3 fields, 20 hectares, in the hope that there'd be something that would then perform and produce. And little did I know that that was going to be the key that unlocked my whole journey on regenerative farming. So the moment really came. I'd sprayed Bandit because the one issue was supposed to be sucking insects. And 3 weeks after spraying Bandit, the lawn caterpillar just came in absolute droves. So like we all did in that stage, I was stuck in the conventional agriculture mindset. I started spraying for the lawn caterpillar, but because of the residual or withdrawal period for the cows, we started where we could. And then the last 3 fields, the 20 hectares that I'd planted the whole mix, were the ones that were to be sprayed last. And when we got to spray that field, it was literally an electric fence single strand. On the one side where we are our traditional kikuyu oversown ryegrass, there were probably 6 to 8 armyworm per tuft of grass, whereas across the fence 1 meter away there was maybe 1 armyworm every 10th tuft. And that was when I realized that there was something seriously happening. So I asked some questions, and that's when my whole journey started in terms of going down the regenerative route. I'm very grateful to a whole lot of people who have put information on YouTube that I was able to watch and try and garner the principles. I've followed them, watched all their talks, and tried to then use those principles to get it right in my dairy farming setup. So from 2010 to 2014, I reduced my nitrogen from 650 kilos a hectare down to 0. And from 2014 to about 2023, the only chemical fertilizer that I put was boron and sulfur, and then I put water and seed. But I did find that in terms of the performance, my physical performance was very average. In terms of all my physical data metrics, you know, tons grazed, tons produced, litres per cow, litres per hectare platform. But my financial performance was very good because I was spending very, very little money to get the performance that I was getting. Then in 2022, I saw another YouTube video on how to assess trace mineral deficiencies. And I realized then that I had a trace mineral issue. I'd been instituting all different management practices to try and overcome. I could see that things there was something wrong, but I didn't know what. I changed my 3 planters in 3 years. I changed my planting methods. I changed to mob grazing, 8 breaks per day, which increased my grazing density to 450,000 kilos per hectare per break. But none of those seemed to make the difference. Then when I saw the video, I realized I had a trace mineral deficiency, and I eventually isolated it down to be molybdenum, which I sorted out over the course of 2023, which gave me a huge response and great results. But I was still a very highly legume-dominated pasture and not much fiber. So I was finding that I was getting very poor performance out of the cows in terms of solids and production because there just wasn't enough fiber in the diet. So in December 2023, I then started foliar feeding with a bit of nitrogen. So it was the first nitrogen that had gone into the system for just on 10 years. And because I'd solved the moly, which was a critical catalyst in terms of the efficiency of the nitrogen, I've had phenomenal responses. So The grass is now, if you look around, I would say a bit too dominant. You know, in dairy production, the kikuyu has a very high NDF and you battle to get performance out of cows. So I've subsequently halved. I was putting 20 kilograms of nitrogen per foliar spray. I've now halved it to 10. And I'm just going to watch the balance between the herbs and the legumes and the grasses as to what rate of nitrogen I'll put in, and whether I continue foliar feeding or whether I reduce the number of applications per year. Since I've done that, the physical performance, it's only been 2 to 3 months, has been absolutely fantastic. There's been a huge improvement in the physical performance. So we just needed to run for the next 9 or 12 months to let those figures come through and just see whether we managed to correct all the issues that we had before. So I'm quite happy at this stage with the performance, but it's all a learning curve, and I've over the past made huge numbers of errors and mistakes. So at this stage it's just going to be to try to get the right level of the foliar feed and nitrogen in the system to support the demands that I'm placing on the system as a dairy farmer.